You're on. Thank you, Cedric. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to the brand new year for the Unitarian Society of New Haven. If you have never been here before, welcome. We hope that you find a spiritual home among us. And if you've been coming for years and years, then thank you for your energy and idealism that fuels this gathered community. This morning, because we're celebrating Unitarian Universalism's one of the few things that we're doing literally across the country and the continent today, the water communion service, because it draws so intimately from the primal traditions. We acknowledge this morning that our sanctuary sits on land that is traditionally of the Quinnipiac and other native peoples. As a congregation, we seek to heal the wounds of the past and present an ongoing work of reconciliation. There are a few announcements. I love that sound. The Connections team is hosting a barbecue this morning. I thought because you were bringing on a Southern boy that you were doing this uniquely for me, but apparently you do this all the time. So I am thrilled in support of the Sunday morning team today after service in the social hall. So please join us for food, fun, and fellowship. And while you enjoy lunch, you can also sign for one of the 5 small group ministries that begin offered this fall. And the adult neighboring faith adult realization class, if you have questions about that, you can reach out to Jesse. And if you are visiting us for the first time, or perhaps new enough to this society, you have questions about Unitarian Universalism and this congregation, grab some food and a cup of coffee or tea in the worship service and join us in the social hall. Look for the Connections team table. And lastly, please consider staying for the Wonderground presentation and display in the social hall from 1 to 3:30. Wonderground Lesbian Archive Library collects and provides access to a broad selection of New England-based publications, artifacts, and personal memorabilia from the period of 1950 to 2000. It is actually a really important historical archive event. So we're thrilled that it's here. And now I invite forward our new ministerial intern, Sunny, to lead us in the call to worship.
Good morning. I call us to worship this morning with reading number 703 in your Singing the Living Tradition hymnal. Spirit of the East, be with us always. Spirit of the South, be with us always. Spirit of the West, be with us always. Spirit of the North, be with us always. Blessed be.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Bobby Pace, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am your worship associate this morning. And Reverend Stephen and Sunny will be lighting our chalice, and our chalice lighting is as follows. Fire and water, ancient opposites, sun and ocean, the cradle of life, dancing flame and dancing river, we invoke them together today as we kindle our chalice. I am also your current congregation and board president. As the elected representative for this congregation, I would like to call Reverend Stephen Kendrick forward as our new contract minister. Many of you participated in the listening sessions this past year to explore the ministry of USNH and the needs at this transitional time. Last year's board decided, after hearing from many of you, that a contract minister, meaning a year-to-year commitment, would best serve our needs as we spend the next year or so discerning together the direction of this congregation and its wants and needs moving forward. The search committee was gratified to have found a very experienced minister interested in us and interested in the possibilities of contract ministry. Stephen comes to us with more than 40 years of UU congregational ministry and has come out of retirement to serve this congregation. He is also well experienced in supporting and coaching ministerial interns, which has given us the opportunity to bring on Sunny McMillan as our new ministerial intern. We are poised at the beginning of a very exciting year or more together. Although we have a one-year agreement with Stephen, both he and the board hope that our shared ministry will extend a bit further into the future. So, Stephen, speaking for the congregation, we covenant with you to support your ministry during the time you are with us. We will seek to live into our congregational covenant by being direct and respectful with you about our needs and our concerns. Do you covenant with us to accept the ministry of the Unitarian Society of New Haven and all its attendant duties, responsibilities, joys, and challenges?
The values of the liberal religious tradition of reason, freedom, and equality that I pledged myself to in my ordination many years ago, I now vow to maintain in steadfast dedication and joy to the best of my abilities in this new ministry among you. With a deep sense of responsibility, I take up this ministry, pledging to speak the truth that is within me with honesty and affection, working alongside each of you for the renewal and consecration of a generous, loving, and hope-filled life. I accept this great charge to support and serve the members of this community in times of joy and pain alike, working to sustain the free faith values of love, freedom, human dignity, and equality in these challenging times. And to this end, standing with Bobby and with Sunny, as you will come up and join us, I commit myself to the values and affirmations contained within the covenant that you share every week.
While the following words express our intentions in writing, our true covenant lives and breathes in our actions. So if you will join us in reading the covenant, join Sunny and Stephen and I in reading the covenant in your order of service or online in the chat. We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we will strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, seek humor and joy.
Hymn 108, Life Flows On in Endless Song. Please rise as you are willing and able.
I'd like to share with you this morning an ancient story found in many traditions. But the version that we are sharing today, that Reverend Stephen and Sunday and I are sharing today, comes from the Dervish tradition from the Middle East. It is the parable of the stream and the desert.
The stream, from its source in far-off mountains, was passing through every kind and description of countryside. And at last it reached the sands of the desert. And just as it had crossed every other barrier, the stream tried to cross this one. But it found that as fast as it ran into the sand, its waters disappeared. It was convinced, however, that it was its destiny to cross this desert, and yet there seemed no way. But then a hidden voice coming from the desert itself whispered,
"The wind crosses the desert, and so can the stream."
The stream objected that it was dashing itself against the sand and only getting absorbed, that the wind could fly, and that's why it could cross the desert.
"By hurtling in your own accustomed way, you cannot get across," said the voice. "You will either disappear or become a marsh. You must allow the wind to carry you over to your destination."
But how could this happen?
Well, by allowing yourself to be absorbed into the wind.
This idea was not acceptable to the stream. It had never been absorbed before. It did not want to lose its individuality. And once having lost it, how was one to know that it could ever be regained?
The wind, said the sand, performs this function. It takes up the water, carries it over the desert, and lets it fall again, falling as rain. And then water can become a river.
How can I know that this is true?
It is so. If you do not believe it, you cannot be more than a quagmire. And even that could take many, many years, my friend.
But can I not remain the same stream that I am today?
You cannot in any case remain so. Your essential part gets carried away.
And the stream thought. Dimly, it remembered some aspect of its being. Maybe this was the right choice. And so the stream raised its vapor into the welcoming arms of the wind, which gently, easily bore it upwards and along, crossing at last to the roof of a mountain, many, many miles away. And it fell as rain, and it reflected.
Yes. Now I have learned my true identity.
We see this happen day after day. That is why it is said that the stream of life continues its journey and is always written across the sands.
And now a time of joys and concerns. Bobby?
Before we begin our regular joys and concerns, I'd like us to celebrate a community joy, the wonderful series of summer services that were offered over this summer. Please let us thank Jackie Shapiro. Jackie, are you here? Please, oh, there you Jackie oversaw the planning for those services. Thank you so much, Jackie. Then would anyone who was involved in planning, coordinating, participating in, or supporting those services, please stand and let us thank you. I now invite you to join me in holding in our hearts the joy and sorrow of those in our community. Some of our joys shine more brightly as others reflect our delight. Some of our burdens are made lighter as others help us carry them. The Soderholm family wishes to share that Tony Soderholm passed away on September 6th. Tony loved this community, especially the choir and all the talented musicians. She was a wonderful mother of Carl, mother-in-law of Lori, and grandmother of Willow, Elizabeth, and River, and will never be forgotten. Also, Mark Bauer's spinal surgery has been rescheduled for next Monday, September 11th. He would appreciate humorous cards and emails during his recovery. And finally, Tanisha Drummons wants to let us know that she has been hired at New Haven Works as a career counselor. For all the joys and sorrows, both large and small, both spoken and unspoken, we bear witness. May we open to this moment just as it is. May our hearts be at ease with the conditions of our lives. May we open to the flow of joys and sorrows with understanding and equanimity. Please rest with us in a few moments of silence.
In a moment, we will begin to gather water into these bowls. We will invite you to come forward in 4 different groups, representing the 4 directions: east, south, west, and north. And here's the part where we Unitarian Universalists love a little bit of controlled chaos. It is for you to decide which of these directions you come from today. You might decide that you come from the direction in which you traveled from New Haven this past summer. East towards the Atlantic or beyond, south toward the Caribbean or beyond, west toward the Pacific or beyond, north toward the Arctic or beyond.
You might decide you come from the direction where you actually arose this morning, the direction where your day-to-day home in our community lies. East toward the Quinnipiac River and beyond, south toward Long Island Sound or beyond, west toward the Mill River or beyond, north toward the Farmington River or beyond. You might even decide you come from the direction whose spirit comes closest to the kind of renewed power you are feeling today. From the east, if your feelings are awakened like the dawn, perhaps. From the south, if your feelings are languid, as at midday, perhaps. From the west, if your feelings are settling like the dusk, perhaps. And from the north, if your feelings are cool as the night, perhaps. Listen to your spirit, it will find your direction.
But before we move at all, let us remind ourselves of the ancient Chinese teacher Lao Tzu's wisdom from the Tao Te Ching. The Tao is like the emptiness of a vessel. And in our employment of it, we must be on our guard against all fullness. How deep and unfathomable it is, as if it were an honored ancestor of all things. Our bowls before us begin in emptiness. No matter how full we fill, in coming forth and sharing, let us begin this ceremony this morning by finding the emptiness within as well. And before we say and hear any more words, let us in silence find the open space within.
Our coming together from the 4 directions will be framed by music from a familiar song, Wade in the Water. We'll hear a new variation each time we change directions. When we call the direction that you have hopefully by now chosen, please move from your seat into a kind of river flow of people along these center aisles. If you've come as a family, we encourage you to all come up together. Stephen will be standing at the head of the line on this side. I will be standing at the head of the line on this side. If you have brought water, you may empty it into the bowls. If you have not brought water, come on and we'll give you some water from prior years to add.
So now let our river be in motion. I will bring forth the first drops into the bowls. This water that we pour is not only from previous years, it's from the earth right under our feet, our home, the Unitarian Society of New Haven. Please come forward. Water is from the east.
And at this time, if you have chosen that your water be of the south, please rise and flow to the center aisles and come fill the bowls even further.
Good morning. Welcome to change. Unceasing, heedless, confounding, quite real change. As real as life gets. Change is all around us. It is not only a new year, it is celebratory with a new president. Although Bobby knows her way around this place, I understand. A new intern. Welcome, Sonny. Yes, you may applaud. I think that's great. New challenges, new struggles, and also incredible opportunities to grow, to fulfill your potential as a covenanted congregation. And yes, the fall season is like that. The yellow school buses are rolling again. The leisure of summer has dropped away, and your calendars look a lot more full, don't they? And dusk descends earlier every day. So this, for me, is a pressing and also very poignant time. It's a good time to hear this parable of transition. It's been told probably in every culture and clime because it is so universal. To be human is to navigate these transitions, to allow ourselves to be lifted up, to be transformed, and to be shaken to our core. And sometimes to wonder what our core is, and to seek not perhaps for a reaffirmation of an identity that we walked in with, but towards something new and creative. I've told this parable many times through my ministry. I told it at the close of my ministry, I thought, after 20 years in Boston. But hey, here I am, standing at a fancy new pulpit, and for the first time in my illustrious career, I now have a pulpit that goes up and a pulpit that goes down. Talk about transitions. You and I have plenty of transitions ahead of us. Studies have asked, why do people enter those doors? Why do they dare to come and sit amongst you? They don't know you. They wonder if they can find a place. It turns out that study after study have shown that over 70% of people visiting a congregation do so because of some massive shift in their lives. It is the death of a parent or a spouse, the birth of a child, the loss of a job, the moving to a new town, transition. And the task of finding ourselves anew, of reestablishing our sense of who we are, or more daunting still, of that new identity. None of this is easy. It just isn't. And so traditions like ours seek ways to help us all over, to make the shift, to find a path. I was talking with my daughter, Anna, who is anticipating being a mother come Christmas time. And she reminded me of a poem by the great Hispanic poet, Antonio Machado. She said, Dad, look it up. It's exactly what you're trying to say. She's right, as always. Machado writes, traveler, your footprints are the path and nothing more. Traveler, there is no path. The path is made by walking. Traveler, there is no path, only trails across the sea. So we assist each other, not by worn creeds, but with the freshening encouragement and support of a liberating faith. We are here for each other as best we can be. I like being a minister. I like it very much. But I found in the last 2 years, I just like being a person in the pew, too. Part of a vital, affectionate, and creative community, just a Unitarian Universalist. Like you do, I have plenty of transitions ahead of me. And I know that I'm going to need people like you to lift me up and to carry me over. You may notice that humble person that I am, I gave myself only 4 lines in the story. But I'm sneaky because I gave myself the lines from the stream. Just 4 lines. And as I reflected on them this week, I realized that they were so plaintive and moving and so deeply human. And I have to admit, so peculiarly Unitarian Universalist. The first line, but how could this happen? How am I going to cross over the desert? This desert is more than a metaphor. It is the dry, desolate parts of life. It is moments of despair. And even worse, the prospect of becoming a quagmire. And yes, I heard you laugh when I said that. And the second line, so classically Unitarian Universalist, how can I know that this is true? It's not a bad question to be asked in a time replete with lies and obfuscations. And it's probably the reason that almost all of us are here today, because we ask about our religious faith, but is it true? And then that third line, but can I not remain the same that I am today? We all ask ourselves these questions. Can we go through transition and remain the same? Can we face change and be unaltered? It's so human. It's so clearly spoken and an anguished hope. And the answer is always no. I believe that one of the chief reasons we gather here is to help us see this as no defeat, but rather as the ingredients of whatever triumph we will ever know. It is the glory of that mysterious, unfathomable gift of life that we will not be the same. We will be someone transformed, held by forces and energies that we do not fully understand and yet may trust in, to go over, as the story says, into the welcoming arms of the wind. And those last lines, after the pleading, the negotiation, the doubting, the questioning, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, fully in operation here, the place that we were headed to all along. What does the stream say? Yes, now I have learned my true identity. Yes, if we trust, if we have a little faith, if we offer ourselves in a yielding openness to others and to life itself. As Jesse said, it happens every day. You and I have a long way to travel, and we'll learn by going which way to go. To go lifted up. Amen. And now this morning's anthem, We Will Gather at the River.
This is such a beautiful morning. I can't say I'm surprised that 2/3 of you brought water from the east this morning. About 2/3 of you have already emptied your water into our bowls from the east and the south. So at this time, we would like to invite those of you, you stalwarts, you holdouts, who have brought water from the west. Those of you who are bringing water from the west, to come forward and empty your water into our bowls this morning.
And finally, those of you whose water arrives today from the north, please rise and flow and come on down. With your gifts of water, the chalice of our spirit will be filled, renewed, and ready to take on the year ahead.
And in the spirit of the water communion, let us rise as we're willing and able. 210, wade in the water, bring your soulful spirit to the task. like the band that Moses led. God's gonna trouble the water, wade in the water, wade in the water, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. You may be seated. I'm going to encourage all of you to contribute to our offering. You can pledge, of course, for a pledge contribution, and we thank you for your generosity, for the love and support of this beloved institution. And now we have come to the conclusion of the service. I invite forward Bobby to extinguish our chalice. And please join me in words that you know well. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And Sonny, if you'll come forward, we'd like to lead you in benediction and then one last song. And now may peace,
which passes all understanding,
keep your hearts and minds
in the knowledge of love.
And may this peace be yours in the week to come. Amen. And we thought, we'd do a special postlude today. I've got Peace Like a River. It's number 100. We're singing the verses peace, joy, love, strength. 1, 2, 3, 6. Please rise so you're willing and able as this service concludes. Got peace like an arrow, got peace like an arrow in my soul. I got peace like an arrow, got peace like a river, got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, got love like an ocean, got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, got strength like a mountain in my soul. Go in peace and see you next week.